Welcome to another episode of Prepper Talk Radio, radio for the ready-minded, the podcast for the prepared with Scott, Shane, and Paris, your hosts. We're all three here today, tonight, to whenever you're listening, and we're excited to come and have a fun episode with you today. We're actually going to talk about, are you the hero of your story or the villain? And we've got some fun thoughts about that. We're going to have a little bit of fun today in our episode. Before we jump into that, though, we really are excited to share with you our merch. We actually, if you go to our website, preppertalkradio.com, and you'll look at our store, there's that when you click on store, it has Apocalyptimist, it has shirts, sweaters, patches. It has one of the fun shirts is it's got a poop emoji, boxing gloves, and a fan.
The poop is boxing. It's hitting the fan. The crap is hitting the fan.
Well,
guys.
they're boxing gloves. It's kind of it's a symbolic
boxing gloves.
Yes, it's an SHTF shirt. Super funny. I love that Scott put that together. That was so good.
My kids think that's the coolest shirt I own.
I bet.
Every family event I go to and wear that shirt, all my nieces and nephews are like, "I love the poop emoji shirt." Like 3-year-olds all over the world are clamoring to be around Uncle Scott because I have the crap hitting the fan shirt. It's the best shirt. It's one of my favorite designs. I'll be honest.
No, that's legit. Yeah. I love it. Anyways, go support the show and pick up some merch. Also, if you're one of the most important things you can do in today's world is get healthy. And if you can, and the most important thing after that is to stay healthy. And the most important thing after that is to do it in an affordable way. So we've got a great affiliate link. If you go to preppertalkradio.com/good life, you'll see there's some absolute phenomenal products to help you get healthy, stay healthy, and do it in an affordable way. And if you become a member, you get wholesale prices. And not only that, but if you want to join as an affiliate, you can actually share the word and share the news and have a nice side hustle. So right now, today, we're going to be talking about the hero. Are you the hero of your story or the villain? So let's jump into it. I know this was we talked about it. I think Scott was one of the ones that came up with the idea. He shared a few clips with us to kind of give us some motivation. And so let's jump right in. Scott, what do you have to share? Do you want to start us off?
I think all of us we've watched too many action flicks and resonated with the hero, right? Or resonated with Rocky. I'm the underdog. I'm going to survive this. I'm going to get through it. I'm the hero. But we forget that to somebody else, we're a villain. You know, if someone comes and asks you for food, you're the villain when you say no, right? And so I wanted to have a discussion on that because the very reality of life is that it's going to get extremely hard to know who really is a hero and who really is a villain. I think it's the edge of a knife. And it's case by case, not character by character. I shared, I don't think I shared this with both of you, but there was a video that I watched with Simon Sinek, and he was talking about the movie Inglourious Bastards. This came up after we talked about this as a topic. And he talked about how there's a particular character in that movie, and I forget the actor's name, but he was like one of the best villains of all time. Like, I think he won a major award for that. But everyone was like, he was so terrifying. He was such a good villain. And they interviewed him, and they're like, well, what did you have to do to get in that mindset that he was such a villain? And his response was simply, he's like, he wasn't a villain. And everyone's like, what? He was right. And that made me go, holy crap, that is our topic. Like 100%. If you believe you're right, if you have a moral connection to your stance, you think you're the hero, right? And if someone's morally opposed to your ideology, right, you think they're the villain. And so it's going to be really interesting to see who's who, right, in the upcoming apocalypse, for lack of a better way to put it. So who are you? Are you the hero or the villain, or are you as it was stated earlier by Field Tech? He's like I'm 100% a hero villain. We're gonna need some explanation on that to help us understand that better. But
what's interesting is they've got a lot of movies now where the anti-hero
Mm-hmm.
is the one that saves the world. And it's kind of like, what's an anti-hero? And it's kind of like the guy that is he was not a good guy in before the disaster or before the world was being threatened by whatever. And then all of a sudden he's the only guy that can save it. I mean, think about one example of one of my favorite examples is the movie Riddick. Riddick was not a good guy necessarily, but he's the only one that could fight and beat the underworld guy and win the whole, basically save the universe, because he was he was the only one that could do it. And then there's several others too that are the same thing. We've seen a lot of, like, I know one for the kids is Megamind. Megamind is a perfect example of who's the hero, who's the villain, and really whose story is really the story that we're telling, so it's kind of a funny, I think Megamind it really embodies that idea of, like, wait a minute, the villain who was supposedly be the villain, and he was only the villain because everybody told him he was the villain. And then when people started telling him he was the hero, he became the hero, which is
like Colin's comment here as well. Hero with villain tendencies. I don't know. For me, speaking for myself, it's a long story, right? We talk about the story. This is a long story for me. Speaking of my own story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is we can call it the natural man if we want to go down that route, right? That's the villain, right? That's the villain. We're all kind of we grow up with that. That's our natural tendency to be the villain, right? We're looking out for ourselves. It's about survival, and that's what it takes. Like you say, Riddick, some of my favorite shows, and yeah, he's the ultimate survivalist. And I think as our story progresses, as we go down that path, that's where we become the hero, but we still see our villainous past. So like hero with villain tendencies, yeah, absolutely. Because that's our natural tendencies, our natural side is to be the villain. And maybe that's not the right way for me to describe it myself. I don't see myself ever as a villain, but selfish, yeah, especially at first, right? And then as the story progresses, the eyes open, and you see the real purpose of life. Maybe I'm getting way too far ahead of myself or the show, right?
But I don't think you are, but I think anti-hero makes a little more sense. I mean, think about preppers. We're unconventional. Our eyes are open. Our ears are open. We can hear, we can see. This tastes funny, right? Everything's going on is weird. We try to tell people the truth, and nobody wants to listen to us. Mm-hmm. They think we're the bad guy. We're hoarding, right? Yep. Oh, you're the bad guy. You're hoarding all the toilet paper, during the Rona shutdowns. Whoa, you're the bad guy, or whatever else. I can't find Band-Aids because I'm. What do you need? Band-Aids? Really? That's your issue? And we've got our not our stockpile. We've got our storehouse. Everything's used, everything's rotated, right? And everyone's freaking out. We're the bad guys. And the reality is, in that scenario, if we go back to the toilet paper crisis of 2021 in Utah, at least, none of the preppers were the ones that were buying the toilet paper and hoarding it. We already had our toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
We had a year's supply of toilet paper. Yeah. We're gonna wait and crap it out while everyone else is figuring it out. We were good. It was the people who weren't prepared that became the villain in the scenario, but we got blamed for it. And in the future, guess who's going to get blamed? We are.
Yep.
But in the further future, I think that's where we see the anti-hero is the prepper, right? We're not who everybody wants to rely on. We're not who everybody wants to look up to, but we're the only one that's going to be there saying, hey, come with me if you want to live, right?
Well, another part of this whole thing is that every time you see a show, whether it's where there is a hero that needs to rise up and do something to save somebody, a lot of times when they're they're just living their best life. They're just doing their thing. They don't want the fame. They don't want the fortune. They don't want anything. They're just living their life. And then all of a sudden, somebody comes to them, in the movies and the TV shows, we see somebody comes to them and says, "You are the chosen one." And they're like, "No, I'm just a dude. What do you mean? Leave me alone." And they run away from it in many cases. And then all of a sudden they get beat up, or they get hurt, or they get something happens, or they realize, you know what? I do need to be the hero. I am the guy that's going to take care of this. And so then they start to prepare. They go work out. They do, and I love the movies because it's always that, the music pumps up, and you see them in there doing their thing. And a perfect example of this is the cartoon Hercules. Like, Hercules does not want to be the hero. And then he meets the little satyr guy, whatever he is.
Phil?
And he totally like gets him working out, and you see all the music, and it's like, and even in the the movie Mulan, it's just a bunch of misfits in this group. And then all of a sudden the guy says, we got to fight to, and he sings the whole song, and they're always working out, and they're training, and they're learning the skills. And, in 10 minutes or 5 minutes of movie time, they're now masters of martial arts or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, somehow. And, to me though, it just comes to the point where it's like, okay, what's the principle here? What's the principle that we can learn from in this right now? And it's like, stop fighting against what is going to eventually, inevitably, probably be the deal. So just, first of all, stop fighting against it. Second, start preparing, like, already. Like, just get ready for whatever life's going to throw at you. If you're the hero to your kids, you're the hero to your wife, you're the hero to your husband. Like, you need to be the hero to some people, and to other people, you need to just accept that you're probably going to be a villain to them in some kind of way that they've created it. And that's the great adventure of life.
Well, and like Mike mentioned here, sorry. I've got enough to share. Does that make me a hero, or a villain for stocking up, for loading up, And unfortunately, I think it's, it depends on the person, but it's both. Because I think we'll be villainized when it comes down to it. Right now, I just want to be the gray man, but when it hits the fan, we are going to be the bad guys, because, I went through some of the, conflicted cards, looking up scenarios. And that's exactly, Scott, those are exactly, before we even talked about this topic, these are the topics that I picked out. Are you going to be the hero or villain? Depending on how you make the decision. Yeah, and, the word comes to mind is triage. That is not going to make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy. When it comes down to it, and it's going to be really difficult decisions, is we have to make those difficult decisions and triage at that time. And we need to make those decisions now, go through that thought process now, so that we can prove ourselves the villain, really, because that's what it'll be. I mean, well, I do that almost every day, standing up for the decisions I make, right?
You're not going to prove yourself the villain, and here's my reasoning why. Right? Stick with me on this. So for years, most of us in the chat, if not all, and all three of us have been trying to get our families better prepared. We've been trying to get even our brothers and sisters in other households better prepared, trying to wake them up, sometimes subtly, sometimes in your face. And for that, we have been villainized by our families in many cases, or demonized, or called into question as the crazy conspiracy theorist, or the kooky guy with tinfoil and a giant storage unit, right? So we've been made to be the bad guy. But then here's what's going to happen. Fast forward, when things go sideways and you can't take away from your kids to feed somebody else's kids, they're going to call you the bad guy again. Right?
It's a guilt trip.
But here's the reality. The bad guy is the guy who had every opportunity to stock up, to prepare and take care of their family's future needs, and didn't do it. That is a prideful, selfish, villainous man who betrays himself, whether it's a man or a woman, right? That is the villain. And we need to understand that. And I wanted to preface that because we're going to go into conflicted cards and we're going to talk about some of these scenarios. And the whole point of this is to really understand am I making the better decision for my family's needs? Am I being a good steward for my family's needs? Because that is your stewardship. Yes, love and help your family, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, your mom, your dad. Love and help them as much as you can, but not at the cost of hurting your kids or yourself. Because you can't, as Shane talked about triage, you can't triage the situation and help if you're the one that's bleeding out.
I really like what you just said, Scott. That's true, because the guy who could have prepared but didn't, that's the real villain, because they didn't prepare properly. And that's, we're all going to have to make a decision as to whether or not we're going to help that kind of a person. But at the end of the day, if you could have done something to protect yourself and you didn't, quite frankly, that's on you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be justified, 100% justified in allowing that person to kind of say, well, you know what, you wanted to be by yourself before, let's just keep that going. Now, see ya. I like that.
Yeah, and the thing that also comes to mind again is the parable of the 10 virgins, right? And I wanted to bring this up to illustrate a point real quickly, is that of these 10 virgins, only 5 were prepared. Were they bad people? No, they were not. They were looking forward to the coming of the bridegroom. Mm-hmm. But what did Christ say when they want to be admitted? He says, you don't know me. I don't know you, right? And so these people were not bad people. And so when we say villain, okay, maybe that's a little harsh, right? But it will ultimately come down to, and I don't know the right words to describe this, but precision, or being obedient, being precise. That's the words that come to my mind, is that people tend to blame others for for everything, really. Yeah. And at this point, at that point, people will say, well, why didn't you tell me? Or have someone to blame, something to say. And are they bad people? No, they're not. But,
Yeah. There's a reality too. We'll be held accountable to things that we could have done. Because here's this is my opinion. There are things that are so readily available to know that we could just, with a little bit of effort, go and learn them. And if somebody's so lazy that they're not willing to put forth a little bit of effort to change their situation, then that's part of the problem, is that they're just, that's on them. And they could have learned, and they will be held accountable. Like, hey, you had this available to you. There's libraries, there's internet, there's all kinds of things that we could learn, but you wanted to go party or do something else, or go to the lake, or buy your, whatever you wanted to do, instead of actually preparing. And in financially speaking, I really just, I'm working diligently to help people, because so many people want to spend tomorrow's money today. Mm-hmm. So they go into debt, hoping that they're going to have, everything's going to stay wonderful and great, and their income's going to continue. And unfortunately, we've been lulled into a false sense of security that those kinds of things are real. And I'm wondering, like, look, we need to change spending our money, our tomorrow's money today, to spending yesterday's money today. So save first and then buy. And that's a prepper's mindset anyways. Like, you need to be ready for something before you engage. And that's something that I think that all of us, we all have. We can't blame the fact that we didn't know. It's like a police officer when he pulls you over. I didn't know but you knew that there was a sign on the side of the road that you could have looked to see what the speed limit was. And so there's some common sense that's not so common anymore, quite frankly. But there's some things like that. I think we're going to still be held accountable. God's going to be like, look, you should have, could have, and you had plenty of people around you telling you, but you didn't do anything about it. So that's on you, bro.
It's the story of the guy who fell off the cliff and grabbed the tree branch or the root sticking out of the cliff, grabbed a hold of it, and was like, oh, okay, I got it. But he looks up and he's like, I can't get up. And he looks down and he's like, I can't get down. And he starts praying to God and he's like, God help me, God help me, God help me. And a search helicopter comes flying by. They're like, hey, you need a hand? And he's like, no, I'm waiting for God. And they fly off. They're like, what a weirdo. Somebody else comes across the top and they're like, hey, we got rope. Do you want us to toss it down and help you? And he's like, no, I'm waiting for God. And eventually the guy's arms get tired and he falls and he dies. And he gets to the other side and he's like, God, why didn't you help me? And God's like, first of all, I put up a guardrail to keep you from falling off the cliff and you went and climbed over it anyways. Second of all, I sent you two people to rescue you with resources and everything you needed, and you waved them off. So yes, you're accountable to those choices. We likewise are accountable to our choices. We get to deal with the consequences of whatever we choose, good or bad. That's how life works. That's how agency works. Some people get away with evil for quite a while and it looks good, but eventually it's going to catch up to them.
Mm-hmm.
We have to take responsibility and take action. And when we're warned, it is our duty to warn our neighbor, yes. But it's imperative, as Shane was talking about, like we have to take precise action to make sure that we create the level of resilience we need, to create the level of protection that we need so that we can move forward through whatever's coming.
And what happens when you warn someone? I mean, what's their reaction typically? I can tell you my reactions that I get.
Brush you off.
Yeah, they brush you off at minimum. They
I've had
cut
people get mad.
They fight back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they push back. And why is that? Because they're not willing to do what it takes. They don't want to see the truth. Okay. I mean, that's a pretty short explanation on my end.
They've been told the lie so long that they now believe it is the truth. And if anyone presents them with the truth, however accurate it is, they're going to tell you that you're the liar. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's the problem. And so now we fast forward into disaster. We fast forward into a scenario where now they need help. You're once again the bad guy. You're bad for telling them it was going to be a problem. You're bad for telling them how to get prepared. And now you're bad because you're not going to be able to share with them without hurting yourself. And you're not willing to risk it to save their bacon, so to speak. Right? In most cases. Maybe you will be. Right? If God tells me, hey, share your food with those people, I will. If God tells me, don't even open the door, I won't even open the door. My hope and prayer is that I'll be in tune enough to know when to open the door and when not to.
Yeah, exactly.
When to share a bowl of food and when not to. Who will be safe and who won't be. But that doesn't mean that I only listen for that inspiration, because God gave us all these senses, gave us all these abilities. He gave us a rational mind so that we can actually look at scenarios and say, those guys are coming with pitchforks and fires, and that doesn't look safe. Let's keep everything boarded up and turn all the lights off, right? Don't go outside and meet him and see if what the Lord says once you get there. Keep yourself safe first. And that's the problem. A lot of people just don't put enough into their own ability to trust and to do what's right and to prepare in advance. And I've got family members who are still like, man, if something happens, we're coming to your house. And I keep telling them, no, you're not. I've got a shovel in the backyard. We're ready to bury people. We need to. And they're like, well, you won't really do that. And I'm like, I really will if I have to.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, what do I have to do? And then I tell them and they still don't do it. I'm not going to risk my kids for their absolute prideful nature to say, I'm going to just take yours, or I don't have to do this. I can rely on you. That's a level of pride and disgust for the value of other people that I won't tolerate in an emergency, right? If someone didn't know any better and wasn't prepared, I'm more likely to help them. But if someone did know better, they're not getting my help unless I'm told otherwise by God. Which Utah Mike just asked this question. Turn away children, right? Would you turn away children? I don't think I can. I've tried to prepare extra and have clothing and food for kids of different sizes so that I can share with kids. But do you think I'm going to pass along food to the parents and everybody else?
It just depends.
It's going to be a really tight call. Like, I'll be honest, it's going to be a really tight call. But I would like to try and feed every kid I can possibly feed. I think that opens us up to some good scenarios. You got some ready for us, Shane?
Of course. You kidding me? So, yeah, first one I picked out here. This is from the original Conflicted deck, the very first one, I think. And, of course, this is the ace, right? It's the ace, right? So this is basically the same what you're just saying here, Scott. It says you have your food storage in place, 6 months worth of food and water for you and your family. One of your friends comes knocking saying that his home has been ransacked. They have nothing but the clothes on their backs and they need a place to stay. Your friend has very few useful skills and taking them in would cut down your supply timeline in half. At this time, there is no way you can replenish your supplies without risking your own life in one way or another. Would you open your home and your supplies to your friends and his family, or wouldn't you? Why? And I'm on the exactly same page as you, Scott. I would have to say no. I absolutely would have to say no. Because first thought is, okay, where do you stop? Where do you limit that? That means other people are going to come, and this is compromising everything that I've worked hard for a decade or more to prepare for. And I have raised my voice as often, as loudly as I can, as I could. And again, triage. They have to make the difficult decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Will I give them something and turn them away? Yeah, absolutely. I will prepare a box and say, we just can't do that without explanation, because I already know that explanation in my mind. But we cannot save everyone. It's just not possible.
Give us an example of the explanation in your mind.
Well, I've kind of explained that a little bit, but I have grandkids already. I have very close friends and neighbors. This card kind of alluded to this was probably not a really close friend, but not that probably does matter. Triage does come down to the fine and the small decisions, the fine points, and again, that'd be very difficult. I've never been through that, and who knows how I will actually really react. But that's why I need to make these decisions now.
Yeah.
But if I give them give away things that will compromise my family's survival possibilities, their needs, then I'm not a very good father, if you ask me.
So I just had an idea. Figure out where the local food pantry is. Draw out maps. Have them, stacked up next to your door and be like, oh, there's a food pantry. Go raid that. Here you go. Right. Send them on their way with at least some instruction. If you can give them some food or give them a meal, that's fine. But like the reality is it's their own doing. And this is hard to say. Like the father in me never wants my kids to suffer. Right. But I have to let them suffer when they do something stupid and there are consequences. I have to let them go through those consequences, or guess what? They don't learn anything. And then they expect me to save them all the time. That associate, right? Not necessarily the kind of friend. It's the same thing.
Yep.
And no one's coming to save me if I don't do enough. How can I afford to save them? Right? And so you absolutely have to be prepared now to have that conversation and to be able to send them away, but also to be able to continue to defend your property if they come back, because they may come back with other people and say, hey, look, we know you've got food. You're giving it to us. Then what?
Then you have to have a really tough conversation or kinetic scenario.
That honestly, that's one of the scenarios that I've played out a million times in my mind. And it's your past conversation when they come back armed. When they come back armed with a mob, your past conversation.
Yeah.
you have to have alternative plans designed and developed and set up so that you can keep your family safe. Because as soon as you go kinetic, they're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. There's going to be loss of lives everywhere. Like, you have to be really, really prepared for that.
Yeah. Not good.
Yeah. Shannon actually had, we did a Ready Man challenge years ago where we went up into the mountains with a bunch of other preppers, and there was the prepper group that they're like, oh yeah, bring your 72-hour kit. They didn't give us any information on the scenario. I'm like, tell us what we're planning for. And he goes, nope, you don't get to know. And so we came with our backpacks, and they gave us these IR vests with shockers inside and a little halo head thing. And then they gave us all these laser pointer guns. Like, we're playing like military style laser tag in the woods. And then they gave this other group, their militia, what do they call them? I don't know.
I don't even remember all the details.
They're the bad guys. They were the villains. But they basically gave these other guys at camp, gave them all the food and water and everything they needed, and gave them all the gear and told them where we would be. Then they gave us a map of where they would be and told us, here's the scenario. They raided your place. Now you're tracking them down. And you're going to try to find them and engage them tomorrow. And so they're like, go hike up the mountain, find somewhere to sleep for the night. Well, then they told the other guys, go ahead and attack them tonight. Go ahead and attack us tonight. So we got ambushed. Everybody got killed. And then we're like, what's going on? And they're like, well, it started. And I'm like, no, you told us it wouldn't start till tomorrow. Like, we just want to see what you do. I think Shane was the only one that took anybody down that first night.
No, first night I was taken completely unaware. I was not even expecting anything like that for it to start. It was the next day when I kicked some butt.
The next day, I navigated us to the place. We positioned ourselves. We took them all out. And then they go, oh, there's a problem with your IR vests. We dispute the win. And they went around, checked everybody, and we had a couple people who didn't have their IR vest on right. But the rest of us did. And so they nullified our win and started over. So, like, long story short, I don't know why I'm telling the story, right? But what I'm trying to say is, like, you don't know what's going to happen. And in a kinetic situation, it goes sideways super fast. And
nobody wins.
Nobody really wins that unless you have a tank with 360 degrees worth of fire ability at range and close up. Like, I don't know that this thing exists that can be operated by one person and that it's completely bulletproof and impenetrable by anything. Then you've got a chance, right? Roll that out of the garage and take out all your enemies. But until then, you got to make some smart choices. All right, scenario number 2.
Your turn. One of your turn.
I didn't even break out my cards because I was planning on talking more. And then I got through.
I got another one here.
Here we go. I'm going to pull this one out.
I got another one, Scott, if you want me to go.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
And I'll pull one ready.
All right. Again, from the original deck, conflicted cards. Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, and Venezuela declared war against the United States due to the death of the dollar. That sounds familiar. This was actually, these are like from 2015, so 10 years ago, yeah. Which led to a complete collapse of the global fiat money system. This has been in the works for a long time, people. They blame the U.S. government for ruining the global financial markets and are using propaganda to get the support of their own people. Your country's president has gone on TV and declared that there are rough times ahead and that all citizens need to prepare for World War III. What would you do after hearing that?
Paris, you're first.
Well, I mean, it sounds like an actual serious scenario, but what's funny about World War III is that how many times have we had World War III declared in the last 5 to 10 years? Like, I think we're on our 15th or 10th or 15th time that everybody's like, no, World War III is coming. So it's a little bit of, it's a little bit of, okay, I'll wait and see if it's actually going to happen. And then one of the other things too is that what I've realized is, let's talk about really quickly the idea of a hero and a villain. Those are completely opposing factions. Like, one of them, and when in going back to the movie Megamind, when Superman decided he wasn't going to be a hero anymore, Megamind had nothing to do. There was like, it really took the wind out of his sails.
Mhm.
He had nothing to fight for. And so he had to create an opposer. He had to create this villain,
He created
another villain.
He created a superhero.
He created a superhero to
Because
be
he
his
wanted
villain.
to stay the villain of Metrocity.
Yes.
Everything he learned in Shul was that he was the villain, and he needed a new hero
To
like
fight
Mega
against.
Man.
Yeah, he needed to have an opposer. And so one of the things I think about is like, what are these world powers really doing? Like, are we really, why can't we just live peacefully? Well, because they want to be the heroes, and you can't be a hero unless you have a villain. And are they really the heroes? And so this whole idea of let's cause a problem that we already have the solution for in order to be the hero to save the day for the problem we caused. Well, you're actually the villain and the hero when you do that, world government. And so, in my opinion, a lot of the world wars that are coming out is because of those types of things. And so, again, that doesn't necessarily answer the question, but it definitely gives me a perspective as to really what's going on here. In my opinion, this is what's going on: is these countries, they have to find a villain. So, in our own lives, we will rise up and we will fight against something that we believe, or a cause, whether it's a person or a cause. We will rise up and fight, and we become a hero or villain based on that. And so what's going to cause, one of the things that as I read the scriptures, one of the things that I realize is that as Christ and God's people become more and more righteous, or as the devil and his kingdom become more and more wicked, it requires a balance so that we have the evil darkness and the light. I mean, all the movies have it, the Lord of the Rings, they have the darkness that's going to rule the world, and the light, that wants to protect the world. And so, my own story, in our own story, who are we rising up to become against, to be able to oppose whatever the ideology is or whatever is happening. And in this scenario, I'm seeing like, okay, wait a minute. Are we being sucked into someone else's hero villain story because Venezuela and all these nations want to fight against the United States, who became the evil villain? And the United States is like, no, we were just trying to help the world, and we were trying to make, we screwed up a few things, but we were trying to do the right thing. And so America thinks it's the hero, and now Venezuela and all the other countries are like, well, no, we're going to be the hero because we're going to fight against it's like, do you see the weird kind of just loop spiral that's happening? And so to me, it's almost that you need that discernment to see, am I going to get sucked into someone else's hero villain story, or am I going to, have my own story and then realize, wait a minute, what's the truth here? What really went on, and which side do I really want to be on? And that's something that takes a lot of discernment, in my opinion.
Yeah. And, World War I and II were not called World War I and II during the wars, right? Mm-hmm. It was always, especially the first one, it was labeled that afterwards. We've heard plenty of governments, and even Trump has talked the World War III talk. And maybe not. I doubt they'll ever come out and say, "Oh, of course they'll warn," and I think they have been warning. But I just wanted to say, what would I do after hearing that? Because I think if we're watching, we've all heard that. We've all heard, "Oh, this could be, World War III could happen here." I think we're already in it. If we look back, and the historians look back in writing history, they'll see that it actually started, a long time ago, years ago. What would I do if there was a declaration of World War III? Not a darn thing. I'm ready. I'm okay. Maybe go to the store, top up on milk and cheese, right, and dairy and fresh vegetables, right, and get those kinds of things. But for the most part, I would stay home and stay away from the public. Maybe at that point, I'm going to say, okay, time to bug out. I'm out of here, But this is a long process. It's not something that's going to be, okay, go, World War III, go. No, I think we're in it, and it's just going to continue to get worse.
Well, and we know it's going to start elsewhere and then come here, right? So you've got until they get here to figure things out and change your situation. I'm at the same, like, okay, they're like, it's happening. Okay. Lock the doors, come inside. Mm-hmm. make sure to top off the water, change a few things for your water. Like I would change a few things for my water use. So we'd actually move some things into gray water containment. We'd move some stuff off the roof, change a few things up for water catchment. But other than that, there's not a whole lot we would do. We would just be like, okay, here's what it is. We would prioritize the most important things, which is keep the shelter safe, security, and our fitness, our not our fitness, our wellness, our health, our well-being, right? Making sure that everyone's got the medications they need and things like that. Yeah, I wouldn't really need to do a whole lot other than that. There was a comment Field Tech gave earlier about how the people in North Carolina after the floods and such. Let me see if I can find it here.
They wish they had 2 to 3 years.
They had a 6-month supply of food, and now they're saying they wish they had 2 to 3 years of food stored. Like that's my wife and I, our biggest concern is we want to get to that 3-year mark, right? Not just for us, but to extend past that for our group, whatever we need. But yeah, like whatever you have, it never seems like it's enough. Okay, you guys ready for another one?
Yep, go for it.
All right. Post-apocalypse. SHTF has happened. I want you to list off 5 crimes that you believe should be punishable by death. I know this is kind of a dark one.
Judge not that ye be not judged.
Well, I think stealing for sure is, well, I don't know about death, but like I love some of the South American countries where they just chop your hand off or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, or Saudi Arabia, wherever that is. There's some place that just chops your fingers off if you steal stuff. There's got to be some harsh, especially when we're all trying to make it happen. If you definitely capital punishment, in my opinion, is if you kill somebody, you should be no more prisons for people. Like if you murder somebody, like self-defense, we should have a trial a little bit. But if you kill somebody, especially if it's for something selfish, like to get their food or take a few bucks from them, like you're done, dude. Like have a trial real quick, maybe make sure it's legit, and then take care of them. What's interesting is that book, 1 Second After, had a scenario similar to that where somebody did something and they actually had a public execution, so everybody knew this is the consequence. And it was kind of a really dark part of the book, but it was, when you do it, you got to show people, hey, we're serious, and these are the rules. So I would say murder somebody, taking advantage of a child in a really physical way,
Pedo.
I don't know if we can talk about that on YouTube, but abuse.
Essay.
Well, to me, look to the past to prepare for the future, right? What I always say. And what did they do in the past? Corporal punishment, right? I mean, that's what they did. That's why they had gallows, right?
Oh yeah.
And the good old meet me at high noon for tomorrow for a showdown,
duels, and yeah.
I definitely agree. Like, if someone's like, this is funny. Have you guys seen the movie Love and Monsters?
No, I haven't seen it.
I think so.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It is so good. You got to watch it because it's funny. It's the scenario is there was this big asteroid coming. They nuked it, and all the nukes and all the stuff they set up to nuke it, all the chemicals fell down, and it morphed all the bugs and all the, like, critters into giant slugs and giant man-eating ants and all these centipedes and weird stuff, right? And so everyone lives in bunkers. And when this kid leaves to go find the love of his life, finds out she's 8 days walk away, that she's alive and he's alive, he's like, I'm going. I want to go see her. Kid has 0 survival skills. Leaves their bunker and is working his way across, runs into some other survivalists out there. And everyone's first thing when they're like, you left your bunker, they're like, oh, you were caught stealing, weren't you? You're stealing food? Like, everybody, you're stealing food. Even this little robot AI thing that he bumped into, she's like, oh, you're out of your bunker? And he's like, yeah. She's like, did you get caught stealing food? Like, yeah. First, someone stealing food, kick them out. If they try to come back and do stuff, lose a hand, right? There's simple things. But someone hurts a kid, an adult man, woman, traffics, or does anything with a kid, goodbye to them, right? I have 0 tolerance for that. Someone who plots and murders, goodbye. Someone who is caught on a stealing spree where they've done it to multiple people, right? They're gone. Like, those are some simple things that I'm like, yeah, done. Can't tolerate. There's not an opportunity for them to improve their situation or there's no prison to put them in, right? To make them learn how to be a better person. It's too late. And the worst tendencies are going to come to the top.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a lot of preppers are preparing not just for the trials of the hard things we're going to go through, but for coming out on the other side, for recovery on this other side. What that looks like, really, I only thing I can imagine, only thing I see is obviously when Christ comes to reign again, things are going to be very different. Now, do we actually need to have? I see people. Oh, I'm never selling my gold and my silver because I'm going to need them on the other side to rebuild civilization. Okay, let's argue with that. I don't agree with that at all. You can't eat it, right? Use it to get what you need when the time is right. So, and I forgot where I was going with that entirely.
Okay, ready for the next scenario then?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so you've got a blood feud. Wah, 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 wah. So you've got a blood feud with another group, and now that society has collapsed, everything goes sideways. You know that they're going to be coming for you, your loved ones, and what you have. So in the areas of security, communication, teamwork, leadership, and tactical strategy, which one is your strength? And if you had to target one of these areas to exploit, which one would you choose and why? So what is your strength out of these ones? You guys in the comments, I want to hear you too. So security, communications, teamwork, leadership, and tactical strategy. Which one of those is your strength? And which one of those, or what would you exploit to protect yourselves against this enemy?
That, for me, would require some planning. I don't have a solid answer right now. That one's we could wing it, but
I know I'm pretty good at leadership, but I would probably want to exploit their security system and see what does that make sense? Like, I would build up my own security system. If they're coming for me, that actually puts me at an advantage. It seems like,
if you have enough resources to stay alert 24/7,
yeah,
who's going to keep watch all the time? That's a security exploit.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Do you? Number one answer to all these questions. So,
because if you have a community, you can share you can take shifts for the watch.
How many people do you have that can do that though?
Yeah.
And of those people who have the ability to keep watch, how many of them are a good shot? And do you have a good relay communication plan to be able to let the person know who's keeping watch how to let everybody else know that there's a problem without giving the other side, the feuding party, knowledge that you're aware of them? Right? You don't want to raise a massive ruckus and alarm because then everyone's caught unaware. That's an easy time for them to attack because you're still trying to figure out who your enemy is. You might even shoot your own people. But if you can make everyone aware without making a huge alarm, that's better, right? Security-wise, protocol-wise. I got you both thinking deep.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these questions, I go through these decks and look at all the cards. I'm like, honestly, I really have no idea how I attack this or that problem. And I mean, that's why they're good. And that's why we do this, is to get our brains thinking. I cannot imagine, honestly, a lot of these scenarios happening in my own community but they are obviously very real and require some thought. I guess I just hope and pray that I'm never in one of those situations to where I have to make those types of very serious decisions, right? And I just pray that I'll have the Spirit with me to make those right decisions at the time, because I don't know that I can make those right now.
You have to know your resources, and sometimes pretending that you have resources. In reality, you may not even have that resource.
Yeah, we are pretending right now. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
it's like,
it's good to run through these scenarios for the fact that when something does happen, if you've given it zero thought, you're going to be behind your critical thinking skills.
Disadvantage.
You're going to be severely disadvantaged. But if you're thinking about it now, like, for example, in school, like in driver's ed, they teach you how to offensively drive to get out of the way or to steer out of the direction of where another car is going, like to try to avoid accidents, right? Same thing in disasters. You want to steer out of the way. You want to get out of the way. You want to get to a safe spot. You want to avoid things as much as possible. And if you've planned and prepped and practiced, you're going to be at an advantage in those scenarios. That's why we do these types of episodes, so that you start thinking, how can I be more proactive and not just be a defensive prepper, but be an offensive prepper, right? Like an offensive driver versus a defensive driver.
Yeah. Well, that same book that I referenced earlier, 1 Second After, has a scenario where a huge band of robbers and marauders is coming through, and just every little village, community, town, just raping and pillaging. And they get the story, the main character, their town is next, and they're like, what do we do? How do we prepare for this? And they have to realize that when you're going to have a war like that, people are going to die, and it sucks. And so they kind of just got the reality of that. And then they also really did their best to kind of fortify everything they could. They had some strategies. They did some really good things in the book to kind of give themselves a little bit of an advantage. And they ended up surviving. The town survived. But again, there were people that still didn't survive, that didn't make it. And so that's the thing, is that, are you going to be, again, going back to that original thing that you mentioned, Scott, at the beginning of the show, is that when we watch these hero stories, we always associate ourselves with the hero, not with the guy who died in the background because the building collapsed on him, So the reality is, you might be listening today and you're like, no, I'm going to take him out. But you're the one, you might be the guy that gets run over in the first scene of the show, of the process. So just remember that you've got to also have like a contingency. Like, what if I get taken out? And have, running scenarios like this is really good to get your brain thinking, because there's a reality too. You might just, like Shane, you just said earlier, you don't think that most of these scenarios will happen in your life. That's exactly the reason why you should prepare for them, because the crazy things that you don't think are going to happen are usually the things that do.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
My closing thoughts are this. We don't know what's going to happen. We can only prepare as much as our awareness permits. If we get too caught up on all the little details, we can drive ourselves crazy. Mm-hmm. But if we make ourselves aware of different types of scenarios and talk them through from time to time, it can help us create plans of action. But at the very least, everyone should have their plan of action for how to maintain their home, how and when to leave their home, where to relocate to, who they're relocating with, how to keep the security up. But I firmly believe everyone that has food storage, everyone that has water storage, has tools, they're at an advantage. But the people who have the bigger advantage are the people that have that and have all the knowledge on how to resupply it, grow a garden, take care of their food. And what Shane said in the comments for security, get some geese for the day and owls at night. Like, you don't even need owls at night. Your geese will be aware. Like, your animals will be loud, especially geese. They're very territorial. Yeah. Get a guardian livestock dog. Like, when we move, that's what I'm getting. I'm getting a livestock dog. I'm going to get some geese, and I think we'll be pretty good on the all night security detail. At least defensive. That dog's going to eat anybody that shows up.
That's a great point. Get resource. Use animals as a resource. Why not?
Yeah. Right. Geese sleep at night. Yeah, absolutely. But have you ever woken a goose at night? It's hard to do. They're already awake before you get there. They're very very aware of what's going on. In my personal experience, like, my great grandmother had geese they were terrifying. Like as a little kid, they were
Wow.
terrifying. They lived out in the country, and traveling salesmen would come by, see the geese, and keep on driving. There were guys that would stand on their car trying to flag my grandma down from in the house to come out and pull the geese in so they can go and get away.
Yeah, I think it's kind of my closing thoughts is, okay, how do I recognize if I'm the villain or the hero, right? Because I think it's a possibility that, yeah, maybe I might be the bad guy at times, accidentally, right? Not intentionally. So how do I see that best? How do I avoid from being the villain? And so that's what I'm going to contemplate more. I don't have the answers, right? I think that's something I work on, regularly, almost every day. I think about, okay, am I right on this topic or am I wrong? Am I too assertive, too pushy about being self-reliant, being a prepper, getting prepared, getting ready for the end of the world, right? I mean, yeah, I probably am sometimes. How do I go about that better? And how do I try to avoid being the villain in that situation?
Yep. I think it's important my final thoughts is that, there's a great book that I read is Choose Your Enemies Wisely. And in the book, it's Patrick Bet-David, he writes it. He talks about how a lot of times we need to have something that opposes what our ideal is so that we can really hone our skills as to being good at what we do. And as just kind of really quickly, as a follower of Jesus, it is good that there is a devil because I know what I'm fighting against. And so in a hero villain scenario, choose your enemies wisely. Choose whether you're the hero or the villain, or when you need to be the hero, choose that wisely and be wise about it, and use discernment, because there's going to be some people that you're going to offend, in many cases unbeknownst to you, and to them, you are now the villain in their life until you can reconcile. And to others, you'll be the hero. You'll be the greatest thing ever. And so, just in my opinion, when I have somebody who thinks I'm a villain in their life, that's just a wake up call to me. Okay, what did I do? What could I do better? How could I be more? Was I really a villain, or are they just taking it the wrong way? So those are some thoughts that I was thinking about. And thank you so much for listening, you guys. It's been a great episode. We've had a lot of fun, whether you're the hero or the villain, or maybe you're a hero with villain tendencies, or maybe you're a villain with hero tendencies. I think there's a little bit in all of us. I've been called a narcissist in my life, and I don't believe that I'm a narcissist, but I do believe I have from time to time narcissistic tendencies. I don't believe I'm a bad guy, but from time to time I do dumb things, and that could be interpreted as bad. So I'm okay with that now. It's okay because it's part of the whole story. But be wise, use feedback from friends and family and others to kind of adjust and be self-aware, and do your best. But you've been listening to Prepper Talk Radio, radio for the ready-minded, the podcast for the prepared. Check out our website, support the show in any way that you can. If you're going to get prepared and you're going to buy stuff, you might as well get a discount. So go to our show, go to our preppertalkradio.com, go to resources, recommendations, and our store even, and get some merch and get some stuff, support the show, and get prepared and get better prepared yourself. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you next week.
Good night.